So a few weeks ago we did a Japanese curry, and now we're taking our deep dive into tonkatsu. You know, the regular old tonkatsu sauce, a few other things. And now it's time to put it all together. We're making Katsukare. Katsukare is a snowboarder's favorite dish when they're hitting the powder in Niseko or the Japanese Alps, but it's also hugely popular all around Japan as well. It's just that the Australian snowboarders who go there tend to fall in love with this dish over all the others. But it's actually incredibly simple to make. This is our katsu stuff. We've been through this many times before, but we'll go through the basics again. Season your tonkatsu really well with salt. You can use pepper if you want, but I usually just use salt, both sides. Of course, you know, there is a lot more detail of this in our other videos. You know, go back and look at some of the other katsu videos, particularly the first one where you'll see all of this. Now, our tenderizer, of course, back of the knife, also completely fine. A few slits into the fat with a knife so it doesn't buckle. And then ideally you'd let that sit for about an hour so the tonkatsu is a little juicier, but you can go ahead and do it straight away. I'm not gonna stop you if that's what you want to do. And in fact, that's what I'm gonna do right now. Using a skewer instead of our hands is gonna make sure that everything stays nice and clean. Tonkatsu, flour, then swishing it back and forward in the egg. Then once again, flour and egg. Now 2 is kind of your minimum number of times for going into your flour and egg mixture. My favorite tonkatsu place does it 2 times. Famous places like Tonki and Meguro, they do it 3 times. It's really up to your personal preference. If you want a thicker breading, 3 times. If you don't want it too thick, so it kind of still stays attached to the pork itself, 2 times. Then into the breadcrumbs. And then that can go straight into our hot oil. At 175 degrees Celsius, a tonkatsu of this thickness is going to take about 5 minutes, flipping it halfway. Of course, when it comes out, drain it standing up, and that's it, your tonkatsu. If you want a longer version of what I just said, go back to the very first video in this tonkatsu series, and you'll get it all right from the top. And there is one more tonkatsu. It's getting pretty easy by now, isn't it? But I want to show you, rather than making the curry completely from scratch, one of the most common things to do in Japan is to use this, curry roux. You saw in the previous curry video, if you haven't watched that, go check it out, that it's actually not that hard to make Japanese curry. But if you want to make it even easier, this is what a lot of Japanese people would use. Basically, it's an instant curry roux. You can use it to make the type of curry, you know, the beef and vegetable type curries that we made before, or you can use it just to make a curry sauce that we're going to use for our tonkatsu. All it is curry roux and water. You can add vegetables and things in there if you want to, but really, it couldn't be easier than that. This comes in different varieties. It comes in mild or hot or fruity or whatever. This is just your regular old mild Japanese curry. 2 packets is about 1.3 liters of water. I don't need all that much, so I'm gonna use half the amount, 650 odd milliliters of water to 1 packet of curry. Bring that to the boil and whack in the curry roux. Now, it doesn't actually say it on the packet, but the best way to use curry roux from a packet is not to really follow the instructions. The proportions are right, but bring the water to the boil, add the curry roux in, turn the heat off, stir it until it's dissolved, and then bring the heat back up and simmer that until the roux thickens. Now here is our curry roux, as easy as it could possibly be. And now it's time to put together the Katsukare. Let me start by chopping a couple of garnishes. Just a little bit of parsley. In Japan, they'd often use dried parsley just to scatter on top to give it a bit of color. But if you've got fresh parsley, you may as well use that. And now for our tonkatsu. Again, the cutting. Go through the breading first until you hit the meat. And then one quick cut to get through it all. Bit of rice on a plate. Curry sauce down first. Now tonkatsu on top of the whole lot. Tiny bit of garnish. Our pickles, and if you want a little bit more information on these, again, go watch the curry video. And that's how you make a Katsukare.